Previsualization is an aspect of movie making that is highly related to digital movie making and digital technology, since digital technology have made it possible to do pre-visualizations of movies and to work much more efficient with pre-visualization, or previs as it is called. Pre-visualization is a kind of, you can say that it is a visualization of how the movie will look. Or you could say that it is a kind of sketch movie. It is not the complete final movie, but nevertheless it is an early version, a sketch version of the movie. And often you do it in pre-production as a part of the planning. And if you see movie making as a design process, then it is quite natural to think about the previs as a part of the design process. Just in the same manner as an architect is building models of a building or so. The model of the building is a sketch for the building, and the previs is a sketch for the movie. Usually you do pre-visualization for just some parts of the movie. Some movies have been completely prevised, the whole movie, and it is typically a large budget Hollywood movies like King Kong, Star Wars and so on. They have been completely prevised. And sometimes you hear the movie makers brag about how complex their movie is. The movie was so complex that they had to previs the whole movie. So the fact that it has been prevised becomes a kind of marketing tool, marketing device. We have some quotes or definitions about previs here. Pre-visualization is the conceptualization of the project prior to principal photography. And that is Alan Chan, that is a visual effect guy at Sony. So it's a part of the planning process. Myself and Karin Wagner have written that it is any means to put together temporary sketch quality moving images into an edited sequence. Because often the pre-visualization is not just one shot, it is often a sequence of shots, so that the things that you test in the previs is camera position, camera framing, composition, blocking, the position of characters, but also the length of the shots and the editing of the shots. So you kind of sketch all that so that you know what shots you need when you are actually shooting the movie. And Brian Poole have said that it's a non-linear production method in a virtual environment. And that might need some explanation. Virtual environment, what he means with that is that previs is often done as a 3D model. You can say that the storyboard is a kind of previs. The storyboard are simple, drawn 2D images of every shot in the movie. And that is a kind of previs, an old style previs. But a more modern way or contemporary way of doing previs is that you make a 3D model of the set, and in that 3D model you set out the virtual cameras that can take images or render sequences from the 3D model, so that you can, so to speak, shoot the movie in the 3D model in order to plan the actual shooting later on. So that is why he speaks about virtual environment. The non-linear production that he is talking about means that the design phase is merging into the production phase of the movie. When we talk about design, we are usually thinking of design as something that happens separately from production. If you look at architecture, for example, first the architect makes a drawing of the house, and then the builders build the house. And it's the same in car industry and industrial design and so on. But in some cases, like in some movie making and also game design, you have the situation that the design is not separated from the craft or from the making of the movie. So that the best way to describe it is that if I make a 3D model that is going to be used in a movie, then I put textures onto this 3D model, and I design those textures, the look and feel, the look of the character, the look of the 3D model, I mean. I decide on that while I create the textures. So there you have a combination of design and craftsmanship that is actually quite similar to how carpenters do furniture from wood. Of course, you sometimes have a drawing, but you also have the possibility to build something while you design it, or design it while you build it. And you see examples of that in movie making. And what it means is that the previsualization is upgraded into better and better quality, so that eventually the previsualization is turning into the actual movie in a iterative step-by-step process. So that is what he means with non-linear production. The opposite is that you have the previs to plan, and then you throw away that and you shoot the movie. And that is quite common, that it is not a continuous process like that. But there are examples of the previs gradually being better and better until it turns into the final movie. So previs is a support for the design process and the decision making in the design process. It makes it easier to make decisions. It is a method and not a tool. And very often it is used to save money because, for example, if you are going to build a set, then usually you build much more than will actually show up in the movie. So maybe you build a set with 3 walls, but in the final movie you will only see 2 walls or maybe 1 wall. So in that case it was not necessary to build the wall that is not visible in the final movie. But since you didn't know exactly how you were going to shoot the movie, you had to build the full set. But if you previs the movie, if you decide in advance exactly how much will be visible in every shot, then from the previs you can plan what will actually need to be built physically or digitally in the set. And then of course you save money because you don't have to build stuff that won't show up on the screen. So very often you talk about using previs to save money to make it more efficient and more efficient planning process. But I would say that hopefully the design decisions is getting better also due to the previous, because the director and the other people involved can evaluate the movie before it is shot. So hopefully they can make it into a better movie also, and not just a cheaper movie. Sometimes people talk about an animatic, and there is some confusion about what you mean with a previs and an animatic, but most people, I think, would agree that when you talk about the animatic, you mean just one shot, a visualization of one shot, while the previs is a sequence of shots, an edited scene or sequence. Some examples of previses. As I said, usually the previs is done before shooting, but there is a kind of previs that is done after the shooting in visual effect movies. Let's say that you have shot a scene where you want to insert some kind of 3D graphics. So you have the photographic material, the plate, as it is called, and into that plate, into that photographic shot, you want to place, let's say, a monster. And in order to just check the scene, if it works, you can make a temporary low-quality visual effect of the monster and insert that into the shot. A kind of early version of the visual effect, an early composite. And that is often called VFX temp or a post-vis. And that post-vis is then gradually made into better and better versions of the shot until you have the final quality with a photorealistic monster or whatever 3D graphics you have. Another word for previs is digital film design. It was used a few years ago at least. Then you have something that is called look development. And going ahead a little bit, this is a conceptual image, and it is used for look development. So this is not to decide on the editing or the length of a scene or of a shot or so, but this is a conceptual drawing, painting that investigate and try out the look and feel of the images. And that is often called the look development or look dev. CG previs is previsualization done with computer-generated images, 3D graphics usually, and that is very, very common that you do it that way, at least in the more upscale movies and movies with a lot of visual effects.